You know what's interesting about people who live in denial? They don't even know they're doing it. They wake up every morning, look in the mirror, and genuinely believe their version of the story is the truth. And today, I want to talk about a specific kind of person who does this better than almost anyone else, the landlord who ran from reality. Welcome back to Paths of Hope. If you're new here, this channel is about facing the hard truths that most people are too comfortable to talk about. We dig into real stories, real situations, real pain, and we find the path through it. So if that sounds like something you need right now, hit that subscribe button, because we do this every single week.
Now let's get into it. There's a man. Let's call him Mr. Karim. He owns 3 properties in the city, 2 apartments and a small house on the edge of town. On the outside, he looks successful. He drives a decent car, dresses well, talks about his investments at every family gathering like he's Warren Buffett with a prayer mat. People respect him. His relatives ask him for advice. His kids look up to him.
But behind closed doors, Mr. Karim is a man running from himself. His tenants have been complaining for months. The water heater in apartment 1 broke down in the middle of winter. The ceiling in apartment 2 has a leak that's been spreading like a slow disease across the plaster. The family in the small house has been asking him to fix the broken front door lock for 6 weeks. 6 weeks! And a mother is sleeping at night not knowing if her door is actually secure.
And what does Mr. Karim do? He avoids their calls. He sends voice notes saying, "I'll look into it, brother." He makes promises at the beginning of the month and disappears by the end of it. And when his tenants finally push back hard enough, when they send a formal message or threaten to involve authorities, Mr. Karim does something fascinating.
He plays the victim. Suddenly, he's the one who's been wronged. After everything I've done for them, they don't appreciate anything. I gave them a good price and this is how they treat me. He calls his friends, he vents to his wife, he reconstructs the entire narrative in his head until he is no longer the man who ignored a broken lock for 6 weeks. He is the generous, misunderstood landlord being persecuted by ungrateful tenants.
That is what running from reality looks like.
And here's the thing I want you to sit with for a moment. This is not rare. This is not some unique villain. This is a pattern that shows up in families, in workplaces, in friendships, in marriages. The specific details change, but the psychology stays exactly the same. A person is handed the truth, and instead of accepting it, they build a wall around themselves and call it self-defense. So why does this happen? Why do people like Mr. Karim choose the story over the reality? Because the truth costs something. Accountability is expensive. If Mr. Karim admits he's been a negligent landlord, he has to reckon with what that says about him as a person. He has to look at the gap between who he thinks he is and who he's actually been. And for a lot of people, that gap is terrifying. It's easier to rewrite the story than to rewrite yourself. There's a psychological concept called cognitive dissonance. It's the discomfort you feel when your actions don't match your self-image. And the mind is very creative when it comes to resolving that discomfort. It doesn't always push you toward change. Sometimes, often, it pushes you toward justification, toward excuse-making, toward blame-shifting. The mind will do almost anything to protect the ego from the pain of being wrong. Mr. Karim sees himself as a good man, a generous man, a provider. So when evidence comes along that contradicts that image, neglected properties, ignored tenants, broken promises, his mind doesn't say, "Maybe I need to change." His mind says, "There must be another explanation." And suddenly, the tenants are the problem. The economy is the problem. The fact that nobody appreciates hard work anymore is the problem. Anything except him. Now let's talk about the tenants for a second. Because this story isn't just about Mr. Kareem. It's also about the people who were affected when someone else chooses denial over truth.
The family in the small house with the broken lock, the mother who checks the door 3 times before she sleeps, she didn't sign up for this anxiety. She signed a contract. She paid her rent on time every single month. She did everything right. And now she's carrying a fear that isn't hers to carry, simply because someone else refused to face their responsibilities.
This is what denial does to the people around the person in denial. It doesn't just stay contained inside the person who's running from reality. It spills out. It floods into other people's lives. The tenants don't just deal with broken heaters and leaky ceilings. They deal with the exhausting emotional labor of chasing someone down for basic human decency. They deal with the confusion of being told, "Yes, I'll fix it," over and over, and seeing nothing change.
They deal with the self-doubt that creeps in. Am I being too demanding? Am I asking for too much? When really, they're asking for exactly what they were promised. And that's the insidious part of living around someone in denial. Their distorted reality starts to make you question your own. You know what you experienced. You know what was promised. But their version of events is so confident, so committed, so emotionally charged that it can shake your grip on the truth, especially if you're a person who second-guesses yourself anyway.
So what do you do? What do you do when you're dealing with a Mr. Kareem in your life? Whether it's a landlord, a family member, a colleague, a partner, someone who consistently runs from accountability and rewrites the story to protect themselves.
First thing, you document everything. I cannot stress this enough. When you're dealing with someone who reconstructs reality, paper trails are your lifeline. Every conversation that matters, follow it up in writing. A voice note says, "I'll look into it." You send a message immediately after saying, "Just confirming our conversation, you said you'll look into the heater by this date." You create a record that exists outside of anyone's memory or interpretation. Because memory is flexible, but a timestamp is not.
Second thing, you stop relying on their word alone. If someone has shown you a pattern of promising and not delivering, the pattern is the information. People tell you who they are through consistency, not through intention. Mr. Kareem's intentions might be good in his own mind. He might genuinely believe he's going to fix things every time he says he will, but his pattern of behavior tells the real story.
And once you see the pattern clearly, you stop giving the same weight to promises you've heard before. Third, you know your rights. This is important. Whether it's tenant law, employment law, family agreements, whatever the context, know what you are legally and contractually entitled to. Because when someone in denial is also in a position of power over you, knowledge is protection. Mr. Kareem's tenants have rights. Most places have laws that require landlords to maintain habitable conditions. A broken lock isn't just inconvenient. In many legal frameworks, it's a violation of the tenant's rights. When you know this, you stop negotiating from a position of helplessness. You negotiate from a position of clarity. Fourth, and this is the hardest one, you let go of the need for them to admit it. This is where a lot of people get stuck. They keep engaging with the person in denial, keep pushing for acknowledgement, keep wanting them to say, "You're right, I was wrong, I'm sorry." And that need keeps them trapped in an exhausting loop. Here's the painful truth. Some people will never admit what they did. Mr. Kareem may go to his grave believing he was the wronged party. And waiting for his confession means waiting forever. You have to find a way to validate your own experience without needing it validated by the person who hurt you. That's hard work. That's real work. But it's the only way out of the loop. Now, I want to zoom out for a moment, because there's a bigger conversation here about what it means to face reality, truly face it, in a world that makes denial so easy. We live in a time where it's incredibly easy to curate your own version of events.
Social media lets you broadcast your perspective to hundreds of people before anyone has a chance to offer a counter-narrative. You can find communities online that will validate almost any position you hold. You can block, mute, unfollow anyone who challenges your story. The architecture of modern life is almost designed to protect you from discomfort.
And so the muscle of self-examination, the ability to sit with the possibility that you might be wrong, that your memory might be selective, that your behavior might have caused harm, that muscle is getting weaker in a lot of people. Not because they're bad people, but because the world keeps offering them easier options. Mr. Karim isn't just a product of his own ego. He's a product of a culture that rewards projection over reflection. A culture where admitting fault feels like weakness instead of integrity. Where my truth has replaced the truth in so many conversations that accountability has become almost optional.
But here's what I know, and this is the core of what Paths of Hope is about. Running from reality always catches up with you. Always. It might take months, it might take years, but the debt of avoidance accumulates interest. The relationships you damage through denial don't heal on their own. The reputation you erode through broken promises doesn't rebuild itself. The inner life of someone who has spent years constructing justifications instead of character, that inner life becomes fragile.
Because it's built on something that isn't real.
And the moment reality breaks through, and it always breaks through, the fall is harder. Because you haven't just been avoiding the problem, you've been building a false self on top of it. And when the foundation cracks, everything built on it cracks too.
Mr. Karim will face this eventually. Maybe it'll be a legal complaint. Maybe it'll be a family intervention. Maybe it'll be a quiet moment alone at 3 in the morning when the noise of his justifications finally goes silent and he has to sit with himself. And in that moment, he'll have a choice. The same choice he's had every time he ignored a phone call and every time he sent an empty promise. He can keep running, or he can turn around.
Turning around is not weakness. Turning around is the bravest thing a person can do. To say, I have not been who I claim to be. I have let people down. I have told myself a story that wasn't true. And starting today, I want to do differently. That's not failure. That's the beginning of something real.
Because a life built on reality, even a reality that includes your flaws and your failures and your moments of cowardice, that life is solid. You know where you stand. You can be trusted because you've earned trust through honest reckoning. Your relationships have depth because they're built on something true.
And that's worth more than any carefully maintained illusion. To anyone watching this who has a Mr. Karim in their life, I see you. I know how exhausting it is to deal with someone who rewrites the story every time you try to hold them accountable. I know how crazy-making it can be to trust your own memory when someone else's confidence shakes you. Hold on to what you know. Document it. Know your rights, protect your peace, and release the need for them to see what you see. Your truth doesn't require their agreement to be true. And to anyone watching this who might recognize a little bit of Mr. Karim in themselves, I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to tell you that you still have time. The fact that you're watching something called Face the Truth means some part of you is looking for a way back to yourself. That part of you is the most important part. Listen to it. The reality you've been running from is not as destructive as the life you're building on top of the lie. Face it. Deal with it. Heal it. And then walk forward with something most people are too afraid to carry. An honest life.
That's it for today, family. If this video hit something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever dealt with someone who ran from accountability? How did you handle it? I genuinely want to hear your stories because this community learns from each other.
Don't forget to subscribe to Paths of Hope if you haven't already. Every week we go deeper into the conversations that actually matter, the ones about growth, accountability, healing, and becoming the kind of person you actually respect when you look in the mirror. New videos drop every week, and you do not want to miss what's coming next.
Until then, stay grounded, face your truth, and keep walking the path. I'll see you in the next one.